Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, this is Stacy over at the Skull Rock broadcast. I am joined by...
Hello, this is Megan. Welcome back to our Stranger Things podcast. And happy Battle of Starcourt Day.
Woo!
Fireworks for everybody.
Fireworks, corn dogs, cherry
New Coke.
Slurpees. Do you know the history of New Coke, Megan?
Fuck off. No,
Get ready.
We're keeping the BS to a minimum because this was a long episode.
Did it take you forever to take notes? Like, literally,
It took me like 3 days to watch this episode.
Thank you. Oh, my... Wait until we do, like, Papa and the piggyback.
I know.
Fuck. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
It's going to be a fun one to talk about because it is such a good episode.
Yes.
But yeah, happy 4th of July. Just a reminder that we are doing a live. If you're listening to this on the 4th, make sure you tune in tomorrow the 5th in the evening for our live where we announce our giveaway winner and, you know, just have some fun. So join us. That'll be on Instagram. And yeah, we have a retraction. Like
we have a retraction. What happened?
So you just informed me that one of our listeners, thank goodness, had to let us know that we talked about the wrong president being assassinated last week. So when we were talking about the assassination, we said Abraham Lincoln instead of Kennedy, which I'm just cracking up.
We needed that like we needed a hole in the head.
We are not history
That was
buffs.
such a good joke.
You can really tell. And Stacy just, wanted to do her Lincoln impression. So
I was just telling Megan, I go, the key to a good Lincoln impression is sound like a feeble old man and then add Mary Todd to the end of whatever you're saying. So we kind of mixed that up. So
Yeah.
Retracted.
I said the wrong president and Stacy just went with it.
I just went with it. I jumped on that bandwagon because I'm like, I can finally do my Lincoln impression. Mary Todd.
If you ever hear us say the wrong thing, definitely let us know because it's entertaining for us and we'll make a retraction.
Which, speaking of Todd, we're jumping right into this. We open. You can tell Stacy doesn't have her ear on.
Stacey's like, it's hot. We need to get into it.
To the steak and potatoes. Speaking of Todd, we open to the Todd father. That was so good, that transition. Speeding down the road at night. And Murray is holding one of the walkies that Hop lifted off the guard that he kicked the shit out of in the earlier episode. And they must have heard the guards that had cornered the Scoop troop. So since there's been like nothing happening because clearly, 11, splattered them all right away. They're listening to see if there's anything else. And Hop's like, are you sure they, said that? Are you sure they said mall, the food court? And at first kind of like Murray snaps about the whole, it's been like this recurring joke of him being like, I'm sorry, is my, translation skills? But he sees that Hopper, like, kind of looks worried. I have to hand it to it, like, Murray, he kind of, like, softens his tone a little bit. He's like, we don't know that it's your kids. And Joyce is like, no, it's them. Like, come on, these kids are magnets to, like, shitstorms. And just speeds down the road.
Yeah. So then we cut to 11 back screaming in pain on the floor of the food court. And this whole sequence is, like, insane. It's very intense. So Jonathan goes and grabs a knife from one of the food court stalls. He disinfects it with some fire on the burner. He grabs a wooden spoon for her to bite.
Which, anytime somebody goes like, here's a wooden spoon to bite down on, you're in for some pain.
Yeah. And Robin is rambling about, like, playing soccer and when Beth Wildfire hurt her knee and
what a great last name.
The whole bone came out. I think it was Beth. It was definitely Wildfire.
It was.
But Jonathan cuts open the wound.
Girl,
it's very graphic. Yeah.
Huge incision scar. Reminded me of Game Night when
you love that movie.
Rachel McAdams, like, she's like, just a small little incision. It's half down his arm. He's like, way too big. But, like, I get that he's the only one that sprung into action. But first of all, he shoves, like, his entire hand in there.
Yeah.
Trying to get the thing that's moving underneath her skin. And like, I like that he tried to give it the old college try. And he did put gloves on, but like, they would have been there all fucking night. And finally, like, I like that she advocates for herself because she's like, John, good try, like close but no cookie. And she basically is like, I can do it, which, man, thankfully nobody was leaning against the glass display window because they would have been shredded cheese. And I thought she used the last of her, like, kind of like powers to splatter the guards. Here's when she uses the last of her powers.
Yeah. I think that might have been, I was like, I feel like there was a couple other things I noticed that we got a little bit wrong last episode, but
the whole episode was just one big error.
Yeah, that might have been one of them too, where it wasn't the last of her power yet, because she does use her power to get out the little piece of the mind flayer monster thing, and it it's gross. It's like bigger than you would think, and it like scutters across the floor. And then I love Hopper coming in like squashing it with his boot. Like, then you have that iconic scene that was in the trailer, I think, like the new trailer.
Yep.
Like of them like all one groups like looking at Hopper.
Yeah, I love that shot. The lighting and just like everyone's costume kind of pops because they're in front of they're near the Sam Goody. So it's got that neon like purple pink lighting and just the music swelling. And they look like the goddamn Avengers. But Hopper kind of like gives a disappointed look like, fuck, again, but it's such a good opening of, father-daughter kind of locking eyes like, here we go again.
Was that the credits after that? I usually write the credits, and then I didn't write it in my notes. So that was the credits.
All-time favorite episode title, by the way, for me.
Battle of Starcourt.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good one.
So then they're at the mall all discussing, like, and this was too, like, I feel like in this episode we call the monster the Mind Flayer, but really they were talking about it as if the Mind Flayer had made this monster, kind of like creating it in its image.
Yeah, the mind flayer was made out of smoke. This was, it's like, okay, I'm gonna model this after myself, made out of chemicals and flesh.
Almost like Frankenstein. Like, this wasn't Frankenstein, this was Frankenstein's monster. This was the Mind Flayer's monster. But Steve is like, so let me get this straight. Like, it's made out of melted people. And I think it was maybe Mike. Somebody said that, yes, that like it was, Will, I think it was made to stop Elle and then pave a way into their world. That was its goal.
I do like when they bring up they're like, yeah, it attacked us in the cabin. You just see Lucas go, it kind of destroyed your cabin.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do they say, I hope you had insurance or something like that?
No, he just goes, sorry.
I think I was thinking that. Like,
we were thinking the same thing. We're like, damn, insurance. Like, holy shit. But they're interrupted by who?
Yeah. So Murray comes over and he's like talking about the map, right?
Yep.
Of the mall. And he's talking about like he doesn't know the scale of the map. So he's like, I think this is like 50 feet. And Erica is like more like 500 feet.
Mm-hmm.
She asks if they're just going to waltz in there like it's commie Disneyland.
And didn't she say, drumroll please, I've been down in that shithole for
24
hours. Don't you even. You
it
were
wasn't
trying to make
days. We were both right. Because you said days, and then I said, not days, maybe 18 hours, maybe 24. I was giving you 24.
Bitch, you said you were like 12 hours. No, people, go back and listen. We have the evidence. Literally, Megan's going to be like.
I think it's a perfect compromise because you said days, I said half a day, and then I was like, maybe 18 to 24 hours.
Megan is going to go back and she's going to like re-edit the episodes where it's her going, yeah, it was 24 hours. And I'm going to be like, this sounds like it's been doctored a little bit. But whatever. We'll call it a truce. We'll call it a
George
tie.
Lucasing it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Green screening it. But yeah, so she shuts them the hell up real quick. And I have to say, she says her best line ever when she asks his name. And he's like, kind of like thrown off. He goes, Murray Bowman. She's like, listen, Mr. Bum Man. Love that.
And she's like, no, I'm 10, you bald bastard. I like that line
So
too.
good. So good.
But Dustin's like, yeah, we can show you the way. And Hopper's like, no. Like,
I love him just going,
No.
nope. And then just smiles. Nope. Just
Yeah.
shuts it up real quick.
But as Hopper is kind of like prepping his gun, Dustin,
Off the corpses.
yeah. Dustin is talking to the other boys, and they kind of like have this sweet little moment.
I get that they have the moment and stuff, but like, and we needed that clearly because they had been separated. But like, I don't know, Dustin being like, we could have really used you guys down there. Well, how the hell would they have known you were out of radio contact? You never told them that you were doing this because you were butthurt about being kind of ditched. Like, it's on both ends, they were both assholes. So I kind of like that they were just like, could have used you up here too. And they make up, and I like that Erica's like, say my name one more time, see what happens. So she's going to own her own company one day, but I really pity the person that marries her because don't cross her.
So this is another thing I like to point out, and I don't know, maybe it's mean that I point this out, but if you watch this scene, the continuity in the background with like Steve and Robin is awful.
Is it bad?
Because they keep moving around, and like,
Of course they do.
like 1 second Robin jumps up and like sits on like one of the counters, and then in the next shot she's like walking over to the counter. It's like,
do you ever notice that it's the scenes with them, like the banana scene?
The banana scene, this scene, like,
yeah. They can't
Joe
sit
and
still.
Maya, like, they literally can't sit still. Hopper tells Dustin that he can navigate from someplace safe and just like hands him a walkie, and Dustin's like, no, like the signal's not going to reach. But he's like, I can help because I've seen the comm room and I have access to a radio tower strong enough to like relay off of the Russian signal. He just needs a head start. And what else?
And a car, which I love that Gold Rush by Yellow, which if anybody wonders who the hell is Yellow, they're the same people that do the Oh Yeah song that plays at the end of Ferris Bueller.
Oh.
And you see
we know all about this, but not for him.
not about the president. I mean, well, like Yellow, oh yeah. Sound like the Kool-Aid Man. We see Mr. Harrington. And if you ever want to see pure happiness, it's Steve Harrington seeing the Todd father, and
it's my
he's
all-time
just-
favorite scene in Stranger Things.
I just love, what is he saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about.
And he's like, screw Todd, Steve's her daddy now.
And I love that Erica's like, did he just refer to himself as daddy? And which one time you talked about Weather Drop, and in my head,
Weather Top.
Weather Top. Look at me,
Yeah.
Weather Drop. And I'm like, yeah, Weather Top. No fucking clue what you were talking
It's
about.
a Lord of the Rings reference. But like Steve is like Weather Top, and Dustin, again, this is like the third or fourth time we've gotten this in this season.
Mhm.
Just drive.
Just drive. Just drive.
I need to like edit together like Hopper screaming just drive, Will saying just drive, Dustin saying just drive.
And everybody
like the
drives like an
tagline.
asshole.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they speed away, and I do love, the kind of like the music, fading out as they drive out of the dark parking lot.
So then Murray shows Nancy and John the keys.
Bitch, I'm sorry. They were both me. Like, at least Nancy's trying to use her fingers to, like, count. Jonathan is me at any kind of direction. Like, right away, they're like, we're going to take these kids to a 24-hour Burger King because we ain't unlocking all
We're
these
not
doors.
going to be able to, like, get into this bunker of Murray's.
Yeah, no.
But then Will and Joyce are talking, which is kind of sweet because he says, like, he's not worried about himself. He's worried about her.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll be fine. Then this is like one of my favorite moments too of this, where Hopper and Elle talk, and she's kind of saying like, my battery's just drained, but it'll come back. Like I can fight, and he's like, yeah, you can definitely fight, but like I want to keep you safe. And
Did
then
you see that she's got Sarah's hair tie on her wrist too?
yeah, so sweet.
Makes me so happy.
But then Mike and Max come over. Mike and Max are together a lot in this episode, which is kind of interesting because they're both like there for Elle. But they interrupt and they kind of like take Elle away, and Hopper calls for Mike, and it's kind of like a little bit of an apology moment
An
between the two
unspoken
of them.
truce. Yeah.
And he's like, just be careful. And then all the kids start to leave.
And then he sees that Joyce is there, and he's like, wait a second. And I like that right away you find out that it's a 3-man operation, clearly. One has to pull all the, the wires. The other two need to do the keys. And he is not too happy about it.
Yeah. But outside of the mall, they all try to get into the station wagon, but it's not starting. And this was kind of funny, too. I love the little, like, moments of humor in, like, a very tense, scary situation in this episode. But, like, the boys are like, do we have gas? Like, did you leave the lights
on? And, man, she is not having it, you know?
She's like, I totally relate to Nancy with the older sister. Like, just give me a fucking break. Like, leave me alone.
It happens. It's Nancy's just trying to start the car, and let's just say the boys are kind of acting like Stacy when we were driving back from the DC parking lot. Just, Stacy, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, I'm distracting you on purpose. So I do notice that right away you hear, Jonathan's like, wait, pop the hood. Which, thank God they had somebody that kind of knew what they were talking about with cars. Because I would have been like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So they pop the hood and he says the ignition cable, which is missing. And right away is looking and stuff. And right away you hear, vroom, vroom. And what is it? It is fucking Billy in his Camaro. And I don't know if this was a little like homage to Christine, the movie Christine. But he is sitting behind the wheel, just revving his engine like, I don't know, like a fuckboy would at a gas station, being like, hey, you want to go for a ride? I got a big engine. And you're
just like, I'm here. Like, look at me.
Look at me. And you're just trying to drop, get a goddamn Slim Jim and, Slurpee. But
the elevator is going down, and that elevator always just seems to go down really fast.
Yeah.
Like, the Russians definitely don't know how to design elevators. But Joyce and Hopper are arguing again. And they're talking about the plan, and I love, like, Joyce basically telling Hopper, like, just because it's not your plan doesn't mean it's a bad plan.
I'm kind of on Hopper's, like, it really looks like he was just thinking, but I'm like, they haven't really eaten or slept, and this kind of a tense thing, but right away, Murray's right away, like, children, which I'd be like Murray at this point. I'd be like, done. And he's like, and I do like that he, R.I.P. Lexi,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I like that he says, like, listen, if everything goes to plan, they won't even know that we're here. And the doors open and what happens?
Their plan is foiled immediately because there's guards right outside the elevator. So Murray stops them from being shot immediately by, like, trying to talk to them in Russian. But then Hopper just shoots them all.
Hopper was all of us at that point. Like, just screw it. You have a machine gun, which I'm like, the amount of just guards, like, who have been just slaughtered in this season. But
yeah. But he puts on one of their hats, and they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm improvising. So.
Cannot.
I mean, that's pretty smart, I think.
I wouldn't have thought of that. I mean, mind you would think, like, the uniforms are probably covered in blood and bullet holes, but, I don't know, whatever.
I guess he was aiming for their head. I don't know.
Yeah.
He learned his lesson with the Russian guard not doing the headshot, so.
Exactly. That comes to bite him in the ass.
What song is playing here?
It is Higher and Higher by Jackie Wilson, which I always think of Ghostbusters 2. They have the toaster dance to that song, and it's so charming. I don't know. They're always like, oh, it dances. So we see the Todd father. It's going down the road, and, Dustin brings up Susie. And kind of Erica says what we've all been thinking. She's like, does she sound made up to you? She sounds made up to me. And, like, right away, let's just say Steve may have paused a little too long.
Right. And Justin's like, why are you hesitating? But I love that. Love that Robin was like, well, Susie must be pretty special. And
Yeah.
Dustin's like, she's as close to perfect as a human being can be. And that's when Erica asks if she sounds made up. And when Steve doesn't answer right away, Dustin like gives him so much shit. He's like, why are you hesitating?
And then something about kids giving directions on this show, because last year it was Max driving the Camaro and then being like, turn here, and them hitting the pumpkin patch sign.
Yeah.
This one, it's literally like, Steve, go off-roading now. And I love that right away they're not on a road anymore and they're screaming and they're going down a grassy field. And then he tries, which I have to hand it to him, because can you imagine after all that, you still have to like walk up a really steep hill? He tries to get the Todd father up there, and he makes
He
a
gets it pretty far. Like,
pretty
it's
far.
saved them a little bit of walking, but
Exactly. And he tries, but he takes, you can tell he's a little bummed out. And Robin's like, I guess the Todd father has its limitations. But the camera pan that they do, like, it kind of does look like it's still kind of far. But he saved them at least 50 feet. So way to go,
and
Steve.
I do love when Robin's like, we're not going to make it. And Steve's like, yes, we will. Come on, baby.
Come on, baby. Which I don't think people realize. So I looked up what year. That's a 1983 Cadillac. And a friend of mine back in college had an 84 Cadillac. Her husband let her borrow it all the time. And one time she had to put coolant in it. And she's like, the little stick thing that keeps the hood up is broken. Can you keep it open for me as I pour in coolant? That girl has no idea how close she came to getting decapitated, because I was struggling for my life keeping it up. And I'm literally like, okay, so, and she goes, when I say 3, just really yank your, hands back. Guys, she came real close to losing her head that day. So, yeah.
I'm glad she didn't. That's a little scary.
Luckily, she's still alive, or is she? Yeah. So they start heading up to, Cerebro, which I said is an X-Men reference. And they're walking up that hill. Thank God they're not running up that hill.
Right. And it's interesting because you, as
Really?
the viewer, I'm not going to give you much.
Nope.
You, as the viewer, hear Mike's distress call coming through, but they must not hear it right away because,
No.
they don't immediately, they call Susie first before. So I guess Mike must have gotten distracted by the time they got up the hill close enough to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying, I guess, giving a message. Also, I'd be like, it's just Mike being annoying, and they're all about to die, and I'm like, oh, we get it, I don't know. Clearly, I don't know how radios work, like Mayday, Mayday. I'm like, they keep repeating the same thing. How annoying. Clicks it off.
But they're all getting ready. Like, Lucas has his slingshot, Nancy gets the gun, and Max is like, are you going to kill him? And Nancy's like, I mean, no, did she say it's just a precaution?
Precaution.
Yeah.
I'm like, those bullet holes coming towards that windshield say otherwise. But you get where she's coming from, and kind of Will explains, he's like, it's not just against Billy, it's against the whole army. If the Mind Flayer knows where they are, he's clearly going to send in the monster. And kind of right away you see Jonathan kind of thinks kind of fast on his feet when Nancy motions to the smashed car, and she's like, you don't think that will drive? And he's like, we don't need it to drive, we just need the cable. Which, good for them for trying at least to try to knock it over.
Yeah, they're trying to just push it at first, and then Elle is also trying to use her powers, but they're gone at this point.
Yeah, at that point we're like, oh shit, because you hear the metal kind of groan a little bit, but we, tank's out of gas, baby, tank's out of gas. Which of course, I don't know, Mike's a little braggy later on. I'm bashing Mike a lot in this episode, but him being like, oh, what did I tell you? Physics.
We go back under the mall, and you see them driving their little cart thing down the hallway, and they get to this guard, and Murray is joking with him. He's like, they just got in, they're new, and the guard is like, oh, say goodbye to sunlight, and Murray's like, who needs sunlight when we have each other? and vodka. So
I mean, yeah, true.
they're just laughing, and the guard lets them through, and then Hopper and Joyce give him such a hard time.
They're fucking over it. Yeah.
They're like, "Are we going to invite him over? Do I need to make him a casserole?"
I love it. Why are you talking so much? Which I love that they're talking in their just normal, regular voices, and they're like one wall over.
Yeah, and Murray's just like, he was nice.
It's nice, like people don't appreciate him. But this scene always makes me think of the scene in Aliens where Bishop has to kind of crawl through the little tunnel to start up the ship, and right away I love that he's like, "Does anybody want to trade, places?" Which I'm like, yeah, Hopper is gonna go down there. Like, come on, Murray, get it together. But we head on over to the radio, and Dustin is trying to check in with Bald Eagle, which I love the name. Erica probably passed out that name.
Yeah, a bald eagle. But I like the when finally he like answers and he like gives his call sign or whatever.
And he
Dustin's
has to make it twice.
Yeah. Dustin's like, "Good to hear your voice, Bald Eagle," which I feel like is like a Star Wars thing. Like, I feel like somebody says that in Star Wars, but I might be making that up.
Not. And I love that basically he's like, "When I reach the vent, I will contact you when I need help. Until then, we need radio silence." And Dustin's like, sign off takes like an hour. He's like, over and out, 2-4, breaker. And just, I love Murray going like, "I hate children." And right away, like, I love how, like, proud Steve looks. I don't know if you caught it, to Dustin. He smiles and he, like, pats him on the back. Like, you did good. Like, I was dying.
But also, Murray reminds Joyce and Hopper, if they see any other guards, to just smile and nod.
Which, believe it or not, is pretty good advice.
But now they're trying to continue lifting the car, and they've got some leverage this time. And this is where Mike is like, "Told you."
So bragging.
Physics.
I would be like, "I'm going to beat you to death with this." But they use the metal poles that were with those velvet ropes that apparently just really threw off the Scoops troop. And they do get it over, and they start, like, Jonathan's trying to get the ignition cable. And you see Max is noticing Al like frantically like digging through the trash, and she kind of looks at Mike and she's like, "What's she doing?" And Al takes out a can of New Coke. And Megan, do you know the history of New Coke?
Fuck you.
Oh yeah, I just have a field day seeing all the New Cokes. But this is a really good parallel scene to a flashback. We get to see a flashback of Elle doing her training, a flashback within a flashback.
Yeah.
Way back from season 1 when she was a little girl, and that's how they almost were able to do like training exercises to gauge her strength. And we saw like the OG Coke can and her being able to crush it. Well, now she can't even crush a fucking can. So wow. And man, talk about shit timing when you realize I don't have special powers anymore.
Just as that happens, Nancy and Jonathan are still trying to find this cable, and Will feels the back of his neck, doesn't give them much warning.
Last fucking possible second.
We can already see it above them, but Max looks up. She calls Mike's attention to it, and I do kind of like how Mike yells for Nancy, like, to warn her, and then they all run just before the mind flayer crashes through the glass ceiling.
Because obviously, like, it activated. Was it deactivated in the back parking lot? Was it heading down the highway, like, kind of like just taking its time?
I think when Billy saw them, that's when he called it. Yeah, like he called the mind flayer.
Imagine going down the highway and you just see that going on in the opposite direction. And you're like, no, none of my business. Okay. So yeah, it crashes through the ceiling, which it is not exactly a graceful little, octopus from hell.
No. But it roars, and as it's roaring, the elevator is dropping again. So you realize, at first you're like, well, who's going down the elevator again?
Literally, I was confused again.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen this episode. I went, wait a second.
Yeah. And
who's in the elevator?
It's the Russians and Grigori, all the Russians from the fair. And they get off the elevator with the other guards. They found the dead ones, so I guess they like called them down there. And I noticed that Grigori calls Hopper the American, which Should have
God
been
damn
a
it.
pretty big fucking clue, Stacy.
Yeah, gambling gal, I am not.
But
Pay attention, not at all.
as he says the American, we cut to Hopper and Joyce, and they're worrying about like it taking too long.
Mhm.
They start to kind of argue again, but then they realize that like despite all their arguing, that they've actually made a pretty good team. And she asks if she got the job, like the detective job at the
Detective
station.
Byers has a nice ring to it, you know? And I love that she's almost like trying to make up because right away he's like, well, it'd be a little hard to, you know, serve for a town that you don't even live in. And he kind of like looks at her and he goes, you are still thinking about moving out of here. And I love that she's like, oh, well, we'll just see what
See
happens.
how it goes.
See how it goes. And he's like, what? And she almost like dances around at first, like kind of like, okay, like I fucked up. Let's go on this date. And I like that she's like, you know, you're right. If we do end all this, we should celebrate. I hear that place, Enzo's, is really good. And Hopper looks fucking gagged because it looks like Joyce is looking for a new candidate to heat up microwavable lasagna and watch Cheers with. Bob, R.I.P., we love you. But literally he's so thrown off. And I love that she's like, what do you think? Like, you know, Friday? And he's
8
like,
o'clock.
and he's like, Miami Vice comes on at 10 and me and Al like to watch it, so I can't stay out too late. Which I'm like, damn, you were letting her watch Miami Vice? That's all about like cocaine and alligators. Like, hell yeah. And she's like, okay, 7 o'clock. And then I like that she clarifies to make it a date. She's like, no, you come pick me up. It's a date.
And he's like, well, oh, wait. Just to clarify here.
Yeah. And
A
she's
date.
like, don't make me change my mind. So I like that they did have that little moment and stuff, but I have to warn them, be careful. Enzo's great restaurant, but that left bathroom door,
Yeah.
the door sticks and you will think you're trapped.
Yeah, that's a really sweet scene. And of course, we get like the callback to it in season 4. And hopefully that's one of my big things for season 5. We better get that fucking Enzo estate. And Max and Lucas need their movie date. Thank you very much. Scoops Troop is giving Murray directions.
Fly right.
Yeah.
Little shit.
So Steve is like looking out across the town towards the mall, and he notices that this attack is happening. Like, I
Which
guess he
thank
can see
God
pretty
he-
far.
I know, great vision, not like the real man in real life.
Yeah.
But like he sees like the lights are flickering because I try to see like, can you see the mind flare? You can't. You just see the lights are going nuts. And, you know, right away he's like, he springs into action, which I'll go on to a little rant later on about, you know, what a brave man he is. But, you know, Eric is like, where are you going? He's like, to get them the hell out of there and get him a ride. And Robin like goes with him, but she, you know, Dustin throws a radio and stuff and says, keep in touch.
Yeah, because they try to call them to see if they're okay. Because what's their call sign? The people left at the mall.
Griswold family.
Yeah, the Griswold family, which is like, what is
That's
Vacation.
from the vacation
Yeah.
movies. Yeah.
National Lampoon?
Which, okay. Yes, it's so good. Vegas is the best one. It's with Wayne Newton.
Do you remember the Mind Flayer picks up the walkie and like roars into it?
That I was dying over because what a sassy fucking mind flare. He's like, shut up, annoying child, and then throws it. That was a bit much. But I forgot that I did this. It literally, so I was planning on cracking so many jokes that like it literally was trying to figure out a place where it wanted to eat at the food court and it wanted an order 11. Like I was cracking myself up. This is why it took me so long. And then I noticed that it sees like a little pile of blood, like the smashed up little part of itself, and it like picks it up and it looks like it smells it. And I'm like, oh, it's a little part of him. He's sad. I was dying. And like, they're all hiding, like, so it's basically Max, Mike, and Al. They're hiding behind like a little booth. I'd like to think it's a Hickory Farms booth. You know, they sell those nice Christmas sausages. And then the rest of them are hiding behind the car that they tipped over. And I have to say, Will looks fucking terrified.
They all really looked scared. Like actually Nancy looked really
once.
scared to me. Like which was intense. But Mike, Max, and Elle realize that they can well, first Dustin also called the adults and was like, there's a problem. But then we cut away really quick. There's a lot of like quick cuts in this episode, which is why it's kind of like all over the place. But Mike, Max, and Elle decide that they can try to go through the gap to get out. And I kind of love this part because like they're in the gap and the monster like puts its tentacle through and it grabs what it thinks is Elle, but it's like the mannequin wearing the same shirt that she has on.
First of all, like, how embarrassing, you know, you're caught wearing the same outfit as the mannequin, but also like,
well, that's
like,
where
now
they went shopping at the beginning of the season.
That's where she got all her fucking outfits, okay, girl?
I know.
And I want to be like, you had a tiny bag when you left that store. Like, holy shit. I don't know. But literally, like, the tentacles grow tentacles. So it almost looks like, it reminded me of the movie The Abyss. But, like, it's like these little, like, alien tentacles within tentacles that almost act as, like, cameras or extra. So it's like feeling around in it's blind, basically, trying to find them. And I'm like, could you imagine, like, it could smell them? Like, because her leg is still cut open. So I would be like, oh, my God. So that's a pretty tense scene. But I like that Lucas thinks fast because he's like, it's going to eventually fucking find them. So he sees the balloons kind of like all around, you know, the mall, probably for that car that was going to be given away. And he uses the wrist rocket, which is a nice little callback to season 1. And I like that that's his like little signature thing. And he pops, and he's smart enough not to pop the balloon near them, but further off in the other direction. And just when the Mind Flayer's little tentacle almost, you know, finds them, it right away, like, you know, looks the other direction, retracts, and lumbers over to where the noise came from, which Lucas, MVP, somebody give that kid a life supply of new Coke. Because, you know, the history of the new Coke.
He's good with the slingshot. But actually before that happened, Murray was like coming out of the vent and started like pulling all the plugs and disrupting the power to the machine. And then Hopper and Joyce kind of move on. And Nancy and Jonathan are looking for an escape. But then the whole thing that you said happens with Lucas. And then they're back in the bunker. And this is when Joyce and Hopper do run into another Russian and smile and nod, and it works.
Beautiful.
So they get to the spot where they have to put the code in, and the code is wrong. So
could you imagine? Literally, like, I'm sorry, my heart would fall out my ass. Like, that's like when you forget like your Amazon password. But like, yeah, this is old school. You can't just get a verification, you know, code. Like, and I love that he's like, Murray, goddamn code is wrong. And he's like, I guess it could be wrong. What?
Which Dustin and Erica overhear that, and they kind of talk about Planck's constant and whether they know it. And Erica's like, I'm not that much of a nerd. But Dustin
nerd.
changes the channel, so we know something's gonna happen. But a bunch of the people, I don't think it was all of the kids. Because
so this is what I noticed right away. I'm like, man,
were they
ran
gonna leave them?
Max, Mike, and Al are still inside.
In there. Yeah.
And it takes them a long ass time to get out. So I'm like, wow, cold as ice.
Right.
And like right away you see the fucking car is still revving, like, hey, baby girl, room. And you see that Jonathan's kind of unnerved by it and having a hard time multitasking. So, of course, you know, Nancy's like, don't worry, I'll protect you. And she comes out and she's like, don't worry, I got this. And she has the gun and stuff. And I have to say, they sometimes dress Nancy a little matronly, but I really liked her outfit here.
Badass, yeah.
Badass. I know she rocked it the last couple of episodes, but she looked pretty good. And I like that, like, right around this time in film history, like, women were starting to prove that they could be action stars too.
Yeah.
And she kind of was showing like, I'm a badass. And I know I give Nancy shit, but no, like she was pretty brave to stand in front of, you know, everybody in the station wagon.
And shoot at this car as it starts speeding towards them.
Oh my God. He doesn't waste any time. He right away, which I don't know. I remember once like my driving instructor told the kid that I was doing lessons with, he went to change, like put it in, you know, gear in the middle, but really it was behind the wheel. And he's like, not like a woman's car, which I'm sitting in the back seat. And I'm like, this is like 2005. And I'm like, that was a little sexist. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but Camaros were all built like that, you dick. But he, right away, I'm like, look, it's a woman's car. But he puts it in drive and he starts like going as fast as he can, which it looked like what I liked was Dacre Montgomery is such a great actor. He shows a lot of emotion in his eyes and it almost looks like he's on the verge of tears. Like, is the real
Yeah.
Billy in there?
Yeah.
Is he trapped? And he knows he's speeding right towards, where possibly his sister could be, his stepsister and these other people. Does he want to not do this, but is he trapped or is he angry? Is that why? But a lot of emotion in his face, but he starts fucking flooring it, which, how terrifying. First of all, the boys are not helping because they are just screaming, we gotta go, we gotta go. Thanks, guys. You're really helping add to, Jonathan not having a panic attack. And Jonathan's trying to crank the engine. And Nancy, just like a badass, boom, boom, firing right towards the windshield, which a moving target, yeah, it's coming right towards you, but that's still a pretty good shot, which,
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, before it happens, okay, Nancy, first of all, very realistic that finally she realizes, like, okay, well, this isn't slowing him down. I'm going to die. So I like that she kind of like, cowers away. Like, it's very natural. That's what you would do, even though you're going to get as splattered as the guards. But, Nancy, like, I mean, if I was to look up bullshit in the dictionary, it wouldn't be, somebody that has protected children endlessly, has ran back into the Byers house to help you and, Jonathan defeat the Demogorgon, has fought off Demodogs in a junkyard, like literally let you off the hook for cheating, took it like a good sport, even, forced to wear a humiliating uniform and scoop ice cream. He still was letting those little bratty kids that never said thank you. He let them into that movie theater, was rejected but accepted the girl that he was nearly tortured and killed with. And what does he do? What does he do, Megan? What does bullshit do?
He fucking slams into that car, crashing and saving everybody, saving the fucking day.
So I guess
That's the
That's not
opposite of bullshit.
that's not bullshit. That's the opposite of bullshit. That's Steve fucking Harrington.
Yeah.
And he took the Todd father and risked Robin and his life to T-bone the fucking Camaro of the kid who year previously had nearly beaten him to death. And he saves everybody's life, which the synth score just swelling and just like with the neon sign, like the lighting is there like purplish and stuff. And you see how beat to shit, Steve's face is, but I love the stunned look on his face. And it's such a, it's full circle finally, I feel in my eyes. He has finally reached his redemption, full circle character arc. Steve saved their lives. And I have to say, that's my favorite moment
Yeah.
of all time.
Yeah. And then him immediately turning to Robin and asking if she's okay. And I love her saying, like, ask me tomorrow. Like, because those two have been going fucking through it. And
Yep.
the fact that people forget that they had trauma in this season, like, it's that scene kind of like sums it all up. Like, ask
There
me
you go.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
But they all see the monster coming out of the mall and start chasing them. So Steve and Robin like jump in the back of the station wagon and they leave, which I guess they're trying to draw the monster away at this point.
Which I get it. Which, first of all, was that monster, like, was he doing window shopping that entire time?
Right, like what was he doing in there?
He's getting an orange Julius. And then he comes out and, like, I guess what I assume is the Mind Flayer thought Elle was in the station wagon. That's why
Yeah.
he was pursuing it.
Yeah.
Which, man, I love when eventually we'll get to that part, but when he finally stops and turns around, it's almost like he left the stove on. And, it's like the Mind Flayer realizing he's like, oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Like, my boss is going to get really mad at me. I really screwed up, which we know who his boss is. But, like, what a thing to screw up on. Like, you were pursuing these assholes for miles, and then
Right.
you're like,
Oh,
wait,
shit.
no, she's not in the car. So I was dying at that.
I loved noticing that the fireworks are all strapped to the top of the car. Like,
Oh, I didn't notice that. Really?
Yeah, like they're all strapped to the top of the station wagon, which is hilarious because I guess they had so many fireworks there wasn't enough room for them all in the station wagon with all the people too.
Wow, okay. Damn.
But then you fade to black here. There's a couple like really dramatic moments where it cuts to black in this episode, but then we open on Salt Lake City, Utah.
We're at Susie's where we go into a room and we see a clarinet.
Mhm.
We see a poster for the Wizard of Oz.
Those were the two things that I wrote down too.
Look at you. We see a young girl reading a book, and it's called, the name of the book, I knew right away you were going to look this up too. It's called The Wizard of Earthsea, which I guess it centers around like a young mage. And supposedly he's born in a village and he displays a great power. And he goes to like a school of wizards, which I'm like, remind you of anything? Like, damn, okay. And I guess there's magical duels. And there's common themes in this book that it's a coming-of-age story using true names in the balance of power. So I was like, fucking, I see you, Duffer Brothers. And her radio is coming to life, and it's Dustin. So what goes down?
So Dustin comes in on her radio and she goes and answers, and he tells her that he's been busy saving the world from Russians and monsters, because I guess it's easier to just like tell the truth. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love her being like, of course you are. But then Erica's like, cut to the chase, basically. And she hears a girl in the background and she's like, hold up, who was that? And I love Dustin being like, I think it was just some interference. So let's switch channels. Switch frequencies.
Like, they sucked up so much goddamn time. I'm like, you will be able to deal with your lady later. But I get it. I get it. Which, my God, that monster from hell is not giving up because it had an Orange Julius in it now. It's been powered up. He is lumbering. Now, in some shots, you're like, how fucking slow is this thing going? But then in others, you're like, the station wagon must be at least going 60. And it literally, Steve and Robin have like a backseat view of this like spider from hell just pursuing them. And literally, it's not giving up, which I'm like, are they going to drive all the way to Illinois with this thing like on its tail?
But I love how they start to hear Dustin and Susie over the radio, and she's giving him a hard time for not calling her, and he's like, oh, I can make it up to you later, and she's like, well, you can make it up to me now.
When she says I want to hear it, she looks deranged, like deranged.
But he's like, and he's kind of saying like, no, not right now, like, but she basically she makes a reference, which is a reference to her book.
Yeah.
So she's like, Ged is saving Earthsea and about to confront the Shadow, which I thought the Shadow was very interesting.
Whoa,
like
yeah.
the Shadow monster. But that's a reference to the book that she was reading. So she's like, basically like, okay, see ya, I'm going back to my book. And he's like, okay, no, like,
and
I'll
you know
sing
what?
it with you.
She's been ghosted, and you know what? She's sticking up for herself.
Yeah, like,
which
good for
unbeknownst
her.
to her, everybody thought that she was like George Glass, basically. So that was kind of satisfying for Dustin. But I love that she wants to hear it. And have you seen The Neverending Story?
It's been a while, and I don't really remember the details, but I know the vibes.
Yeah, I kind of prefer the sequel. There's like a man that's like a like sized bird and shit. Like, it's weird. It's scary. First one, there is a dragon that looks like a giant quin.
Yes.
It's a giant quin
Yeah,
dog.
it's very fluffy.
It's very fluffy and like, could you imagine him that size? Man. But no, The Neverending Story had of course, back then you had to have a hit chart-topping, theme song. And we had The Neverending Story sung by Lamal, who was originally from the band Kajagoogoo, which he went solo. He's like Harry Styles. He went solo. And he did his thing, and it was a hit. He also is known for the song Too Shy, which I actually have on my phone. I've always liked that song, in which one person in college went, what's that song? Hush, Hush. And I went, what? And then we figured out it was Too Shy. And I'm like, how could I have guessed that? But it's a banger of a song, and I know he does it with another singer. I had it written down. He does the duet with Beth Anderson. She's the girl in the music video. And I gotta tell you, they gave Lamal and Beth like one hell of a fucking like
Run for their
no,
money. Yeah.
run for their money. Because they like this is what killed me, the split screen.
Yeah.
When they did the split screen of them singing and like Susie's doing her white girl like finger pointing and Dustin just like it's almost like he kind of forgets that the end of the world was at stake.
Yeah, he gets
'Cause
into
they get
it.
and Gaines like he's a Broadway baby.
They
They
both
get
are. They're like Broadway kids. Like I loved
at
that.
that.
Yeah.
and they sing their little hearts out. And I love that because of this show, like a lot of people might have never heard of the Never Ending Story or that song. And it kind of like gave it new life that summer. But everybody's reaction to suddenly this musical number happening,
Priceless.
priceless. I feel like Hopper's just done. He is just a man who is defeated at this point. Murray is confused.
Steve
And
and
it's his
Robin, like
I love that Steve almost like is shrugging, like almost like apologizing
Yeah,
for
like,
Dustin.
what can
It's
you
a lot
do?
to take in.
I guess
and Erica,
I didn't raise him well.
exactly. You know, like single mom who works 2 jobs. He's Reba. But, you know, and Erica is all of us just like, is this fucking happening right now? And they sing their little hearts out, which that song is much longer, which if they had done the full version, the whole world would have ended.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
she
gives
gives
him the number, right?
She gives the number, which is 6.626070004.
Write that down, guys. If you ever need Planck's constant to save the world, hopefully
Did you
Stacey
see me?
got
I
it
was
right.
like, I go, how would I even remember that? And I'm like, I wouldn't. Literally, we would all die. But Hopper, he's smart. As he's hearing it, you know, read out loud, he puts it in like almost like a little microwave. Ding! Opens up and he gets the keys. And, you know, right away he's like, Susie, you just saved the world. And I love how, as they're going back and forth about how much they love each other, Eric is like, enough, and snaps it off.
So then this is where Billy gets out of the wreckage of the car, and then Mike, Max, and Elle start to come out of the mall finally. Like, I don't know what they were doing in there. Like,
Yeah,
where
they're
is
like, where the
everybody?
They were getting an orange Julius. They're like, where the fuck is the, you know, station wagon?
But they realize they just see Billy and they like turn around. But this is when Billy sees them, realizes that Elle wasn't in the station wagon.
You see the like mind flare go, fuck, turns around.
And I love Max like closes the gate, but then Billy just comes over and with his strong, like superhuman strength, opens it back up.
That kind of gave me the ick a little bit. That thing was going so goddamn slow, and that thing looked like it was made out of plastic. And he's like, ugh. And I'm like, okay, we get it. You're possessed by a demon from another dimension.
Right. Like, what do you
dick.
expect us to do? Applaud?
Yeah. So fucking good. Do you notice, like, when they see it, like, turn around, like, it's turning around, you know, it goes, I'm going to be in so much trouble. Literally, Jonathan, like, he's like, you know, the real reason why Jonathan turned around, he didn't want to deal with all those keys. So he
He's
fucking,
like, let's just go back to the mall.
yeah, fuck the keys. And the way people bang Uis in this show, like, hubcaps are probably scattered all over that highway. But he starts heading back as well.
But the kids are running down the hallway inside the mall, and then downstairs, the machine is malfunctioning. All the Russians are in a panic, and Murray's doing some more things like under the machine, and Hopper comes in to like the command center and just like shoots everybody up, which is his MO this episode.
Everybody out, man. That's the way you clear a room, okay? Either that or you toot. And he got the room to clear.
Yeah. So Joyce sees the machine in the gates, kind of like a dramatic moment when she's looking
Looks
at
horrified.
it. And
Yeah.
Hopper's like, are you ready to end this? And they open the box with the keys in it.
They take way too long. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I know. Because like if they had done it a little bit faster.
Instead of the whole, are you on the count of we would have,
Yeah.
Megan,
Yeah.
we would have already been going up the elevator, been like, that was a piece of cake,
Yep,
man.
we did it. But
Yep.
then we're back upstairs. Billy's close behind them. Max confronts him, and she sort of tries to remind him, like, who he is, like, where he lives, like, kind of bring
And
him
that's-
back.
That's interesting because I'm going to bring up and see if you like agree with me when Elle does it. She kind of does a reverse tactic that I guess the FBI uses a lot when they say like, you know, you're pleading to like somebody who has kidnapped somebody or has killed somebody or a mass shooter. You're supposed to like say just details about yourself or the victim to make them seem more human, such as their address, who they are, what their name is. And it makes them a little less easy to kill. So like you said, it's her trying to remind him, like, your name is Billy Hargrove, you live at, you know, Cherry Lane. And he, of course, slams into her, like knocks her out, knocks Mike out and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like at this point, and the makeup is amazing. The like black veins are probably the most prominent I have ever seen them. Like, boy is gone.
Yeah. And he knocks Elle to the floor and then starts carrying her away. But then we're back downstairs again, very fast cuts here. And Joyce and Hopper are like literally about to turn the fucking keys. And they just like take a fraction of a second too long. It's infuriating. And Grigori shows up and they have like a big fight scene.
It goes on forever.
It does. And it cuts back and forth a few times. Like
Joyce gets knocked out. So
Yeah.
you're like, great, you know, and it's just like it's two huge dudes fighting each other, but like you said, it keeps cutting back and forth what's going on, and
right.
Hopper can
Because
take a punch.
he can. And then upstairs, Elle and Billy are like coming out of the hallway. The lights are flashing like crazy. He sets her down and basically does the whole little like speech that he does to all the people before they get flayed, and is
Yeah.
like, just don't be afraid. It'll all be over soon. Just try and stay very still. And then the monster gets there.
And that's such an iconic shot. Like, first of all, he cuts through scoops, which I love. And it's just this huge shot of just the huge mind flare, you know, like mind flare, excuse me, just literally looming over her. And she kind of comes to, and I like that her vision clears. She looks terrified. And what happens at that exact moment?
So just as the monster is about to like take Elle with its tentacle, Lucas comes in clutch with the fucking fireworks. And
Play this, you piece of shit.
yeah. Yep.
Man, my voice cracks like a teenage
Just
boy,
just
too.
like Lucas.
Yeah, look at
And
that.
again, we're cutting back to the fight scene, back and forth a few times. But like Billy, you can tell that Billy's in pain also when all the fireworks are like hitting the monster. But when
Yeah.
Elle tries to get away, he pulls her right back.
Oh my God, he's slamming her against the floor and stuff. It's very intense because, like, first of all, I love the visual of that, like, of them setting off the fireworks inside.
Oh my gosh, it's
like,
so cool.
so cool that the Duffer Brothers were like, we're going to have this take place on 4th of July. And what are the kids going to use? They're going to use fireworks. So, like, the colors going off and stuff, and everyone's all surrounding the monster, throwing them, like, chills every time. But I just love that what happens is as he's slamming her down, like you said, he's wincing in pain. And that one particular time he winces, and it almost like reminds Elle, like, wait, there's still a person in there. Let me see if I can reach him. And she thinks back and she says two magical words. What does she say to him?
Well, hold on, because we're not there yet. So Joyce is getting up and seeing like the fight happening, and Hopper's like super close to the machine. Like his head is like on the ground, like near the machine.
Anything with somebody's face almost getting thrown, like ripped off by a machine, I'm good.
Yeah. And then Steve is calling to Dustin, like, we need
We're out of
help.
time. We're out of time.
So
yeah.
Dustin calls Joyce and is like, close it now. And she ends up taking her belt off and like getting both keys at once. And then Max wakes up in the hallway, and she wakes up Mike. I feel like she thinks Mike is dead for a second there.
And she sounds worried. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, where's Elle? And then we come back to Elle and Billy. Like you said, she sees like the flashes of his mind. And
I feel like what I got out of this, and tell me if you agree. So what does she say?
well, she says that the wave was 7 feet.
So she says 7 feet.
Yeah.
And those two words alone make him freeze. And it's her remembering, and it's almost like backwards because we know the closer she went to find the source, it's like the worse and more toxic and violent his memories got, the more stormy and hard to see they were. But the first memory
Was like the
a
most
memory,
pure, happy moment.
sunny
Right.
day. You know, it was sunny skies, and it didn't involve her dad, and it was when he was still innocent. So she knows that at one point he was an innocent young boy,
Yeah,
and
because she's like
clearly,
describing the beach, like she was saying that there were seagulls, and she's talking about his mom and what his mom was wearing, and then
Mhm.
basically she was like, she was really pretty and you were happy.
happy, which
Yeah.
holy fucking shit, that tugs on. And I like that she focuses a lot on the mom, because clearly the mom leaving was a common factor, and we see that really, like, she was able to reach him.
Yeah.
And
The emotion on like both of their faces in this scene is incredible.
it's heartbreaking too, because if you think about it, like, she lost her mom, and she knows what that's like, and she's able to reach to him, describing that, like you said, she was really pretty and you were happy, and he cries, which I guess Dacre like did himself, and she touches his cheek, and it's almost like this is the first time maybe ever. And like we said, we are not trying to excuse any of his horrible piece of shit behavior, but it's almost like he was set up for failure, because he basically continued that violent, abusive kind of cycle that his father had set up for him. What if his mother had stayed? Things might have been different, and we don't know if even the mom's alive still.
Yeah.
So this is the first time ever that almost like somebody is like, I'm checking in on you. And also, like, he's probably like, no, if you think about it, this man was possessed. Mind you, he was showing up to work and everything, but maybe if someone had been a little closer to him, they would have known something was wrong.
Yeah.
But he had those walls up, and Elle was the first person to almost reach him. And it's almost like she did her version of this tactic, being like, you're Billy Hargrove. And it actually got to him. Like, you're still a person. You're not a monster.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound like so fucking cliche, but I know X-Men is a common factor with these seasons, and cerebral and everything. But there's this famous line that Charles Xavier, Professor X, says about Magneto and Mystique, because they were once his friends. Just because somebody stumbles doesn't mean they're lost forever. So almost like, just because you are a villain or you've done bad things doesn't mean all hope is lost. You can always come back. There is always time for redemption. And I feel like that was Billy Hargrove in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at
And
me
he
getting
just
deep.
he didn't really, get the chance to have his redemption, but
Nope.
oof. The
Right?
machine's kind of whirling, the fight's continuing downstairs, and I love this part where Hopper like throws Grigori into the machine and is like, I'll see you in
So good.
hell.
Which, yeah, what a banger of a line,
Yeah.
That one's for Alexei.
They throw the last of the fireworks and they like realize that they're like running out, and the monster roars, and like Billy ends up standing up and facing it. So you're like, oh, like he kind of has woken up.
And did this kind of remind you of, say, Darth Vader, Kylo Ren?
Ooh.
The last possible moment, somebody reached them and they protected somebody that they loved in
Yeah.
their last, like, in the 11th hour.
Yeah, I can see it.
Thought about you with that, yeah.
But Mike and Max run out just at this moment in time to see as Billy like blocks the monster as it goes for Elle.
Mhm.
And like all of these tentacles attached to Billy, and it like looks like Vecna in his lair,
Mhm.
with like all the tentacles like plugged in. Gross.
Ew. Don't ever say plugged in again.
I mean, that's what they
Ew.
are.
My night is ruined.
They are, though. It's basically what they're doing. But
And it's gross because you always forget that they're like rows and rows and rows of teeth. They're like
Yeah.
the Dune fucking sand monster. So like when they start hitting him, he loses juice pretty fast.
Yeah.
So in his last moment, it's almost like, it could be symbolism to standing up to an abuser, but it's him screaming, and you see like the black chemical blood coming out of his mouth. Like, I'm sure Eddie Munson would say that was pretty metal, but he's just so angry, and he shows like, oh, it's almost like a fuck you to the monster.
yeah. So Dustin yells like, "Close it."
Close the gate. Yeah.
As the Russians, there's like, I didn't really understand the purpose of these people. So like these Russians kind of come in these like hazmat suits.
They were trying to get to Murray. He was the, I have some visitors, some company that I need you to take care of.
Okay.
They were already in their suits and they were trying to get to Murray, but they were down below. But when they see the like electrical force because of, the Russian being thrown in it, they look at it literally like a bunch of like high moths looking at the electrical light.
Like, I think they should have probably got out of there when they
maybe
saw
time
that.
to get the fuck out of Dodge because we saw what happened.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because Hopper and Joyce have this like long look at each other. And then we actually cut back. We cut back and forth a couple times again here. So Billy falls to his knees and screams. And the monster plugs in.
I can't. I'm fucking shutting the camera off now.
One more tentacle into its chest.
One more plug.
I
hate everything.
Max screams, and then all the tentacles unplug.
Ew. Stop.
You're like blowing my eardrums.
I can't.
And Matt
Stop fucking saying plug.
Billy falls to the ground as like Max is looking.
Yeah, that was unfortunate timing.
Dramatic. But like Hopper then again looks at Joyce again and nods.
Almost like I can't
Just
get out.
do
I
it.
can't possibly survive this. Especially if there's a hidden platform 20 feet below.
Or just
but
could he just like run up a little bit? Like it would take you like 2 seconds, Hopper.
I said to myself, I would close my eyes and try to run through the like electricity force and just like shit my pants and die in front of the person I like. So maybe it was for the best. He had a dignified death, but I like that he nods almost like we have no other choice. Like don't have guilt.
Yeah.
Turn the keys.
She looks back at him, and I like that she closes her eyes too, because maybe if she hadn't closed her eyes, she would have seen what actually happened to him.
Yeah.
So that kind of like explains like the fact that she didn't see what happened because she actually closed her eyes. But again, we like fade to black for a second here. And then it comes right back. The machine explodes. Those people down there, like moths, are like disintegrating.
Yeah, hope it was worth it.
And the gate starts to close. So,
and that, I'm sorry, a bull in a china shop? More like a mind flare at a food court.
It just thrashes.
He hits every support structure, every carrying wall. He is Stacy on the dance floor after 2 Mai Tais. He is having a hard ass time.
And then I love when he just like falls. Like it's very like just.
It was that third Mai Tai. Yeah, boom. Which I assume like that was like, they said there was like 50 to 70 people that made him up. Like I'm just going to assume they said they all died in the mall fire, I guess.
Yeah.
Which could you imagine, like you see your loved one in a trance leave the barbecue. You don't try to stop them, but they just walk away and then, they were at the mall late at night.
Why?
What were they doing there?
They were just children that left on their own. Like, why did they walk to the mall?
I mean, it was the 80s. You could smoke in a Denny's. It was lawless times.
But they're looking on from above and there is fire that's like burning now, I guess from...
That was a happy accident.
Like,
I don't watch. They actually set fire to the mall. Like,
yeah. But Joyce is crying, and Mike runs to Elle and Max. Mike runs to Elle. Max goes to Billy, and I thought he was dead already. When he fell, but he got one last word in. Yeah. He did get one last breath, and with his last breath, what did he say?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Which, party foul, we get it. Which, it goes to show he used his last breath to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we discussed in our Dacre episode last summer, the sound effect when his body falls is the same effect that his boot makes when he first enters in season 2. So full cycle there. But he did not die. First of all, we know Dacre is a, method actor. But usually, when a real handsome person dies, they die real delicate, look real pretty. And the one thing about this show, like, people don't die pretty. Like, I'm sorry, their eyes are still open. They don't look great. They're covered in black shit. Like, he was looking a little worse for wear. And poor Max is begging him to wake up, hysterically crying. And like, yet again, it shows like how important that friendship was, because Elle starts comforting her. And this maybe sets us up for witnessing trauma and how we deal with it for season 4.
Right. Well, and Elle holding her and comforting her was also like mirrored in season 4 when she's like holding her like body after she like brings her back from the dead, basically. So intense.
Man, we're gonna. There's a lot of unplugging in that season. I'll tell you that. Man, which I'm sorry, Kids 3, Upside Down 0. Like, come on.
Yeah.
70 people died, but a win's a win.
Joyce walks closer to the machine and she's like looking for Hop, I guess, but like crying. And Murray finds her and he's like, "Where's Jim?" And
I feel where the fuck do you think Jim is?
they have to run because more Russians are coming in.
So sad, the music.
And this is a really cool shot. So Dustin and Erica are like up on the hill and they like watch as like all of these helicopters like fly in.
A ton of them too.
Yeah.
The reinforcements, of course, arrive.
They're a little late.
They're a little late, but I would like to think they would have been a little later if Wheelbarrow had not called in. So
true. True. So they land in the mall parking lot, and I feel like it's cool. Like it's like very 80s looking. Like the
neon's still on, even though the fucking building is on. And I was like, is this regular firefighters or is this like government firefighters?
Right.
Because like, could you imagine the firefighters being like, what the hell is that? You just see the mind flare burning up.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. But like, who gets out of the helicopter?
So even though it's a bit of a cameo, I think it's very impactful. It's Owens.
Yeah.
So Dr. Sam Owens finally shows up. He brought the reinforcements, and he comes, and I love that it's almost like you see what's the equivalent of the military doing like a SWAT raid, and it's them going through the Russian bunker, and you get to see like all these like locations that we've seen throughout the season, like where Steve and Robin were tied up,
right?
Where
the
chair
vault
is
like still on the ground, kind of thing, like
House of Horrors.
Yeah,
and it's them looking at Murray and Joyce. They right away, we're Americans, and this is one of the most eerie shots because they see the wrecked, burning remains of the machine, and you see like the thin outline of where the gate was, and just the music that plays, and you see Owens, and I have to give Paul Reiser his like props. He looks horrified because he told Nancy the season before that his biggest fear was that their enemies, like the Russians, were going to find out about this and try to weaponize these monsters. So the fact that this was happening on U.S. soil, he looked shook to his core. And it's such a, like, even though there's no dialogue, it's such a powerful scene.
Yeah. I thought so too. But like you said, outside the mall, there's all these fire trucks, ambulances, military vehicles, which, like you said, like, who's going to tell the firefighters not to, like, discuss this huge mass?
Just let it burn, man.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if they, like, helped it along a little, like, set it on fire more, like... hide the evidence.
Like, is that a giant octopus? Don't ask questions.
No.
Yeah. Ugh. Did you notice Steve in the background checking on Nancy and
Was he
Jonathan?
checking with Nancy? I saw him with his like blanket around his shoulders, but yeah, he's such a sweetheart.
Hero.
Joyce reunites with Will, which is a nice, sweet moment, but then.
Oh,
we see
God.
Elle, and she's looking around, and she realizes that Hop's not coming out, and she looks at Joyce's face, and she realizes that he's
Again,
gone.
no dialogue, but just the music and the acting.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. This poor girl.
And again,
Ugh.
fade to black.
3 months. So I'm thinking October, if I'm doing my math right.
Yeah, because it was July 4th. So
Yeah.
August, September, October 4th. Yep.
Look at me doing my months right. I'm proud of
Good
myself.
job. Good job.
Good job, Stacey. So we get to see basically like, their version of hard copy, but it's cutting edge. And their report kills me because Hawkins, Indiana, like at first, seems like an idyllic place to live, a place to walk your dog. And then it's like, and then tragedy struck. And it shows that they did write off all those deaths in the mall fire, which killed Hopper, their sheriff, and a disgraced mayor. And the mayor is like getting arrested, so he got his. Mysterious deaths, and the nice like Radio Shack photo of Bob, and then Barb just looking like she works at the library, and I say that with love. And then it goes chemical spills. It shows the pipe, like just which I'm like, what the fuck? And then like and it shows the lab, but it says like there's a bunch of conspiracy theories and stuff that's going on.
Cover-ups, yeah.
And I like that they kind of yet again touch upon season 4. They're like, Satanism, which at the time Satanic Panic was running rampant at the time.
And they like zoom in on like a dungeon master guide for like D&D.
Yeah, right away I'm like, yeah, that won't be a plot device at all.
But it's
so
like,
it kind
tune in for Horror in the Heartland.
That killed me that was the name of it. And then it just shows, that good old trusty BMW pulling up to the arcade/family video store. And who gets out?
So we're here for a job interview as Robin announces that apparently Steve put down his mom as a reference on his resume.
She's super well respected.
And they go in and they're interviewing with Keith, who apparently works at the arcade and family video, because
I would like to believe
connected.
that he, even though he's a student, I'd like to believe that he owns that whole strip mall.
Yeah.
He is a businessman, and this is the only time there you go. And this is the only time we see Robin and Steve outside of their Scoops uniform.
Yeah.
And it's so coded because like literally like as a high school student, if you kind of like hit it off with somebody, either your friend or a coworker, you're going to try to apply for the same job. We've all been there before. So I like that they've clearly become friends, and I love their outfits. I even got a custom pop done of him in that outfit. But how does the interview go?
Well, Keith is not really feeling Steve,
No.
But he asks them their 3 favorite movies. So I wanted you to tell me a little bit more because I have not heard of any of Robin's favorite movies. So they were The Apartment,
Okay.
Hidden Fortress, and Children of Paradise.
I will fully admit the last 2 I have not seen, but I have heard of. The Apartment is a really funny, almost like comedy made in the 60s. Shirley MacLaine's in it, Jack Lemmon. It's definitely worth checking out. It's usually done, I guess, as a play, but it's a really cute romance comedy. The other 2 I've heard of, but I have never seen.
Yeah, it would
And
be
what are-
interesting to like watch them, like to see like what Robin's favorite movies are, because I'm sure there's like connections to like, they picked those as her favorite movies for a reason.
And most likely they probably have strong female leads or like, females that she loves,
Yeah.
and might be definitely, kind of like very Robin coded.
Yeah.
But Steve's, what are Steve's favorite movies?
Animal House, definitely,
Yeah.
which I've never seen, but should I watch it?
It's funny. I like it.
I mean, if it's Steve Harrington's favorite
It's
movie.
Steve Harrington coded for sure. Yeah.
Star Wars, which this is the best line,
Which
ever.
Star Wars?
A New Hope.
A New
what
Hope.
now?
A new what?
And he's like, which Star Wars? The one with the teddy bears, duh. And then he makes the
And
little
isn't that like
noise.
known as like kind of the like lesser favorites, right?
Oh yeah. So he said A New Hope is episode 4, the original. So Keith is like asking him like, is that your favorite? And the one with the teddy bears is Return of the Jedi, which is like the 3rd installment, episode 6. But yeah, it's like not, it's like out of the 3, it's like the least like.
And they say kind of like the Ewoks kind of went over like less as dramatic, but like Jar Jar Binks. Like people
Yeah.
are like, what are these things?
I love Return of the Jedi. It's my favorite Star Wars movie. So
Really?
I don't fucking care if that's the basic answer.
And you know what? You and Steve Harrington, you love the teddy bears.
Exactly. But he kind of says like to Robin, like, you could start tomorrow, and Steve, you start never. But so
Damn.
Robin has to kind of like shoo Steve away to like give Keith a little pep talk.
So basically, Keith's like, he's such a douchebag and stuff. He's a douchebag to us in high school. And she's like, I will admit he was a prick, but she kind of like breaks it down. She's like, he's a chick magnet, like there's going to be a lot of hot ladies coming in, which you almost want to be like, is this a lie? Because it seemed like he was really striking out.
No, it was definitely a lie. Like she was like, Keith, we sold so much ice cream, we had to get another shipment from Michigan. Goddamn Michigan. But she's lying because he was striking out with everybody. Like,
yeah. And she's like, he's going to need assistance, Keith. And like Keith's thinking about it, he's chewing on his little Cheetos. And as he looks over, there is beautiful Steve Harrington
with Phoebe Cates.
With Phoebe Cates and from Fast Times, and he like knocks into the display and he's like, what is it? Like, you got a crush on him or something? You guys a thing or something? She's like, no, we're just friends. And right away he's like, oh, Fast Times, definitely top three for me. My God. So, like, we already know, like, yes, they're going to work at a video store. So, love that. And then we cut to the buyer's house, which I want to be like, okay, well, they would have been freshmen in high school. So, did, like, Joyce keep them, like, home? Like, did she just not send them to school?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe they started school and then had to leave, like, with only a few weeks into it.
I'm thinking too much into this, guys.
Yeah.
But they've cleared out clearly, Gary at the real estate agency. He was able to sell the house.
Right.
And, you see Jonathan's, room is completely clear now. And him and Nancy, which, that sucks. They have to say goodbye. And of course, she's like, maybe we could have you live downstairs in the basement like Mike did with Elle. And they have this really touching scene together because they've been through a lot. And right away, he kind of is like, to quote a great man, we have shit trauma.
Shared trauma.
Like,
yeah.
Shit, I thought it was shit trauma.
You didn't watch with the subtitles, Stace? Shared trauma.
Cut to me. I'm like, we have shit trauma. And he's like, what? That's disgusting.
But I love how he's like holding her hand and like touching their scar because she has the scar on her palm.
Didn't even notice that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very emotional. Because Nancy's like, maybe we can keep you in a tent in the basement, like Elle.
And he's like, your dad would love that. I highly doubt Ted Wheeler would notice.
Right. No, he probably wouldn't. But we're going out of order because before that happens, we actually have the moment where Lucas and Max are singing to Dustin.
Yes.
They're singing Neverending Story, which I love.
They're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're Broadway kids too. Come on.
Yeah.
They had to have their moment.
Hello.
But they're giving Dustin a hard time. He's like, you guys are butchering it. But you're so funny.
Hysterical.
You
should be on Carson.
But they're like, well, then you sing it for us. And he's like, no, my is reserved for Susie's ears alone. And I love how he gives them the finger. But then also Will is putting all of his D&D stuff in a donation box. And Mike is like, well, what if you want to join another party? And
not possible.
Not possible.
Yeah, for people who don't want to play D&D, yeah, okay. We'll just leave it at that.
But then Elle is also packing and she can't reach the teddy bear that's on the top shelf. She tries her powers again and you see that her battery's still dead, which I have a lot to say about this scene. So Mike comes in and he's like, oh, they're going to come back. And he gets the teddy bear for her. He's very nerdy. He's like, they're talking about him coming to visit for Thanksgiving, maybe her and Will visiting for Christmas so that they can all play with their new presents. Like, it's cute, but like.
It's cute for that age, yeah.
I want to point out that I was right, that was the only time that he had ever said he loved her. Because she's like, hey, do you remember that time when you were talking to Max about your feelings and about your heart? And he's like, oh, I don't remember. What did I say? Like
Mhm.
he obviously knows what he said, but he's like kind
Yeah.
of playing dumb. And
So
she
she did
says
hear him,
she
right?
heard him, right? Because that's
Oh,
what
sneaky.
she's trying to get him to say it, but he won't say
Yeah.
it. He has never said it. And she's like, I love you too, and kisses him. But he has never said
He's
it
still
other than that one
so
time.
toxic.
Yeah.
So goddamn toxic. Al, you deserve so much better.
Right.
Sorry.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I know people love Mike and Elle, but like he literally only said he loved her that one time, has
When she
never
wasn't
said
even
it
in the fucking
again.
room. Yeah.
Right. Has never said it to her face and didn't even say it now. Like when she just said I love you too.
Wow.
Um so then it's kind of a cute goodbye, but it's not very romantic between the
No,
two
it's
of them.
one-sided.
Yeah. Then Joyce is also packing, and what does she find as she's packing?
So you see that she has a box that says Hopper. So I kind of would like to believe that like they kind of, moved, Al in with them, out of the cabin while, everything was happening and stuff because Hop was gone now. And they kept some things of his, probably for Al further down the line. And it looks as though it's his uniform that he had been rocking. And she's like folding it and she finds actually the heart to heart that, she had helped him write to read to the kids at the beginning of the season. And right away she's like, oh, and like, kind of like Al notices it while they're packing up and she goes, what's that? Oh, the heart to heart. And right away Al's like, what are you talking about? And it kind of dawns on, her right away. She's like, he never read it to you, did he? No, he did things his way, and it worked out perfectly. So she asks if she can have it. She says, of course, and she hands it over. Rip my fucking heart out.
This is so, like, this whole little, like, montage scene here is, like, one of the most emotional, I feel like, in the show. Because Elle, like, lays down to read it. And it's, like, a combination of a flashback of, like, Hopper like actually writing it and
Writing
like
it, yeah.
saying it out loud to himself, and also like a voiceover of like stuff happening and them all saying goodbye as she's reading it. So you see like the kids hugging and saying goodbye. You see like flashes of like the abandoned cabin. You see Joyce driving, and then you hear Hopper talking about being in a deep dark cave and not wanting things to change. I also thought that Mike looked super emotional about the whole thing. Will was crying a lot. And then you see Mike going home and hugging his mom. And it was kind of a callback to when he thought Will had died. And you get the same song, actually.
Yeah.
Heroes
Peter
by
Gabriel's
Peter
Heroes.
Gabriel. Because when he thinks Will died, he goes home and he's like sobbing to his mom. And you see him again going home and crying to his mom. And like, I think it's more crying about Will than it is about Elle. Like, I mean, it's like the whole, them both leaving. But, I think that Peter Gabriel song playing kind of just made me think more about that parallel.
It reminded you of that.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like it's another sense of loss. You can lose people in your life just by moving away or drifting apart. And not only is he losing his girlfriend, he's losing his best friend, and I'm so glad Karen was there to comfort him. But we also see that, Max is back in Billy's bedroom and it looks like it's kept exactly the same way it was. And we assume that Neil is still in the picture, but she was fooling around and laughing and teasing with Dustin in front of everybody. But now Elle, her closest friend that's a girl, has moved away. And maybe now when things are quiet, it's almost like hitting her. And we don't know how her home life's looking because she did describe that things did get bad. And she's sitting on Billy's bed and it's almost like she's devastated, and we see a little glimpse of the Max we're going to see next season. But she's kind of in her own cave. And it's just like, man, that letter, like you have to have ice water for blood to not feel anything because
it's intense. You also see Lucas and Dustin giving the donation box with Will's D&D stuff to Erica. And I thought it was really interesting because did you notice on her door there was a rainbow? which I was like,
Yeah.
rainbow, like rainbow room. Like, this is weird.
Oh,
Like it was like a drawing of like some
I love
balloons
that
and a rainbow.
you notice that stuff. I notice if there's like Raisin Bran cereal.
Yeah.
We are not made the same, my friend. But no, that's cool.
But the end of the letter, he's saying like, you have to remember that the hurt is good because it means you're out of the cave, and to keep the door open 3 inches, which she laughs. And it's a little like wonky here with like time, because you see all of this happening, but then you see her finish the letter, and then you see them leave again.
Time to go. I'm like, yeah.
And they close the truck, but like Joyce closing the door of the house, and that
just
being like
for
the end.
one day.
And
I'm
it's just like the music ends very abruptly. Like,
way to kick us in the non-existent dick.
so then the credits start, but it's a little different because
What is that?
There's no music, and then you're like, what is that, snow? Like, what?
Do I hear the wind?
Right. And we go to how do you say it? Kamchatka?
Sounds good to me. You sounded great.
Russia. And then we go into this prison, and not the American. So apparently there's an American in this prison. Probably Barb,
Right away, I'm like, guys, come on. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I lost a bet.
And they take this prisoner out of his room and basically feed him to a Demogorgon.
And that Demogorgon looks, because we haven't seen a Demogorgon all season. We
No.
forgot
Not
how
since,
tall.
Have we seen a Demogorgon since season 1? Because I feel like in season 2 it was just
there's
like
none
the
in season 2.
Demodogs.
Yeah. So when we finally see that thing stand, and it almost looks like a more like albino looking one, it doesn't look healthy. It's very pale. It literally is huge. And you're reminded like those things are like 9 feet tall. And you're like, huh? And the guy screams, and as it opens its big flower mouth, it cuts to black.
And you see the season 3 like logo and the theme song over the credits.
Which Battle of Starcourt definitely it has to be my all-time favorite episode. I know it is a staple to watch around this time of year, especially on the 4th of July, along with, classics like Jaws. But everyone said that this is when the season finale started to become almost like a theatrical experience where you felt like you were watching a movie. So 5 out of 5, fireworks, no notes.
It's just like an emotional, action-packed, beautiful masterpiece of television.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think there's much else to say. Like,
I mean, there's the history of New Coke.
fuck you. Oh. All right. Well, with that, we have finally come to the end of season 3. I can't believe it. This has been a journey, my friend.
It has been.
Thanks for following along with us, guys, and hanging in there when we had to take a break for all of the Joe excitement.
So much Joe.
It actually is fitting that it's the end of the Back on You tour as well.
I know.
Like, just the timing of everything is just so crazy.
Little do you guys know, we mapped that all out. We had it. We talked with
Actually,
Joe.
we talked to
and the
Joe.
Duffers.
Yeah, the Duffer brothers. We're all on the same page here.
We played it all out. Yeah.
But we are gonna, take a couple weeks off here. I'm going on vacation.
Yeah, you are.
We'll have some Joe bonus episodes coming out that have already been recorded. We'll probably do another Joe bonus episode soon. But yeah, we got to keep the excitement going because the Back on You tour is over. But like, we got more Joe coming up. He's gonna play Lollapalooza.
Yep.
And then we're gonna have another Bite tour. Like, it's just got to keep the show on the road.
It's just beginning. We could call that the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end.
Yeah. So
you're like, that sucks, Stacey.
We also have some other cool surprises coming up.
Yes.
With the show, but then we eventually are gonna have to start season 4. And
isn't that crazy?
I don't know if I'm emotionally ready. Like, again, that's like where it all started for me, but it's going to be fun. speaking of season 4 and season 5, we don't really have many updates, but just as we were starting this episode, I opened Instagram and realized that Ross Duffer posted for the first time in a while. And apparently season 5 is at the mixing stage. So
Ooh.
that means it's almost ready for us, and crazy.
It's like a McDonald's salad. They're shaking it up.
Yep. We have a little bit of merch to talk about, though. So
We do.
I'm going to go first because I don't have a lot.
Okay.
But I bought something
Who did?
yesterday or today. I don't know if you saw this. The Pavements Blu-ray, DVD, whatever is coming out.
Yeah.
And it's like a special edition, limited run.
Show it to
I'll
me.
have to like send you the link. It's coming. It'll be like coming out later this month. I don't even have like a working DVD player or Blu-ray player. So
you are adorable. Don't ever change.
I might have to get one, but like there's like a lot of bonus footage, and
Oh hell yeah!
there's actually the interview at the New York Film Festival that I was actually at is
You
going
were
to be
there.
on the Blu-ray. Like, so
Oh, that's sick.
yeah, it's really cool. So I'm excited about that.
I love that.
And just like to own it, for
Yeah.
my little collection.
Physical media, man. I'm a firm believer. For a while, I was getting kind of bad about not buying physical media, but definitely to support not only the actor but the studio and the film, buy
Yeah.
physical media, guys.
Yeah, and Alex Ross Perry, the creator of that film, also has Video Heaven, which we got a trailer for.
Which, tell me about that. Who's narrating
The
it?
narrator is Maya Hawke,
Love that.
who plays our favorite video store employee. So I do know that like Family Video has like a little bit of like a role in the film, because it's kind of a documentary about video stores and how they now only exist in like period film, or
that
like
crazy?
like classic film where it was kind of like part of the culture at that time. So
I cannot wait
Yeah.
to see that. I'm big, like when we cover season 4, I cannot wait to talk video stores.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the VHS community and stuff. We know Kiri is too now.
yeah.
But it's so fascinating, and I think she was the perfect person, because not only is her voice just so crisp and pretty and stuff, but just it's fascinating to see that that's a thing of the past now. There's not even blockbusters, so I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that too. So yeah, what do you got for merch?
All right. So I recently got the large Scoops Ahoy Demogorgon. Thank you, Makari. I didn't realize how big he was.
Oh, I have
So,
that.
It's
think.
huge.
Yeah.
I thought he was just going to be the size of them.
Is
I
it
didn't
the
realize.
it's the like the pink and blue one?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think they call him the Sherbert.
Yeah.
I right away went, why is the box so big? He's a big one.
He's
a big
big.
one.
Yeah.
There's also the plush character bag clips. I guess they look like almost like the keychain, like mystery keychains that we have that are made out of rubber. And I guess they came out larger, and they are plush, like little stuffed animals. I got a really cool, and I posted about it on my Instagram. It's a Joe the Crux standee from Fright Night Fever. Now, they don't have an actual shop. They do have like a Twitter, and they have an Instagram. You'd have to message them. And they made like an original Joe Decide standee. They're plastic, and they're really good quality. And it's big too. They're sold out currently, but I think they do plan on making more. And they sent me that, and it's really effing cool. It's just, him with his shorts leaning against the Crux sign, living his best life.
That's cute. You posted it, right? It was cool.
Yes. Also, Joe, speaking of Joe, they they added all of their merch onto their website. So all their band t-shirts and tour t-shirts, which I was dying that I missed. I may or may not have ordered the black and the navy one, because that was
Nice.
an early birthday gift. And then shout out to, this is actually, I rarely do just a regular like Instagram page, but they have been such a big help, to Joe Time Style.
Oh, I'm glad you brought them up, because they have been
They're
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so Joe Time Style is posting like all of the like Joe's like looks, like his
Mhm.
like fashion choices, which it's so kind of interesting to me because, like, you made this joke earlier. Were we recording when you made that joke? I don't think
No.
so. But, he wears a lot of vintage clothes, which,
Yeah.
I mean, he never really looks like he puts too much effort into his clothing choices, but like, honestly, he probably is thinking about it a lot more than you would think and has
Yep.
spent a lot more money on these clothes than you would actually think just looking at him.
Instead of buying sports cars, he's buying vintage clothing.
He's buying
okay?
like $200 t-shirts, like.
Mhm. And what I like about this page is they do their research. They post great photos, but they'll track down, let it be a piece of jewelry, pants, hat, t-shirt, jackets, and they'll find what it is. And then they realize we don't got Kiri money. So they'll try to like give us links on something that's just identical or similar to it, but for deals. Because right away I was looking for the Buzzcocks t-shirt that says Love Bites, but without it saying Buzzcocks. I want to be him for Halloween. And they're looking for me actively, but they're like, oh, it's sold out. And I'm like, yeah, I was able to find, the same sweatshirt he wore at Upside Down Con. But then they showed the Red Sox caps, the vintage Red Sox caps. And I'm like, even though I hate sports and, me, I do not have a face for a baseball cap, I got one, and I got the cheapest one. I think it looks the most like his. And it's so cool. They do their research and they're just so much fun to talk to. They've even gone down to like that, hard cologne that he shows in the Vanity Fair thing. It's just a lot of fun. They clearly are having a blast. So if you are a fan of Joe or vintage clothing or both, definitely give them a follow.
Yeah, so it's Joe DJO Time Style. They also did a sticker sheet, which I forgot to mention.
I ordered it. Yep.
Yeah, I forget what their shop's name is for like Etsy, but they did a Joe themed sticker sheet, and I got two because I want to keep one like nice and then use the
and
other stickers.
And they thought of everything, even the ugly hat, the spa. We're allowed to say that, the ugly spa hat.
Yeah,
like they thought of everything.
There was a couple. What were like my favorite things on the sticker sheet?
There's like snap peas.
Yes, that was really funny. And I think Jill is doing a sticker sheet too. Jillustration Studio, I think.
Yeah, they've been doing some great pieces lately.
The scissors, because he's been cutting people's hair.
Yeah.
I like his tote bag, and the tote bag says "Go for it" on it.
So zany.
His boots, an egg. I'm excited for the egg.
Of course.
The peanut butter pretzels. That's what it was.
That was it. So not for anything. Right away, I looked and I went, I think I know what we want to get for a tattoo, Megan.
Peanut butter pretzels.
Them just scattered about.
Yeah. So that was cool. I did get the sticker sheets too.
So cool.
Yeah. Good shout out there. All right. Well, is that it? Are we done?
I think that's it. I mean, happy Battle of Starcourt Day, man.
Yeah. And as always, please find us on social media. Come chat, come hang out. We are most active on Instagram at Skull Rock Broadcast. I am at Steady Stories, and Stacy is at Stay Still Reviews. And if you enjoyed our episode, please give us like a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to, and maybe write a little review, leave a 5-star rating. That would be awesome.
That would be great.
And
if you're really a big fan of New Coke, and the history of it.
Fuck you. Somebody do a tally of how many times she did that to me today, please.
You're welcome, everyone.
Also, you can check out our Patreon where we post some bonus content. Deleted. Forget ya.
We should do something. Forget ya. We should do something on Patreon where I wear a Lincoln hat and I have to say it in my Lincoln impression, the whole history of New Coke.
I will not be participating in that.
God damn it.
You can record it and send it to me and I'll post it, but I'm never gonna watch it. That's
God damn you.
Anyway, yeah, you. Patreon, that's there too. We have some cool stuff going on Patreon.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. So until next time. Season 3 of our show is not over yet. We will let you know. when it is officially over, but we have at least a couple more Joe mini episodes and at least one more episode of season 3, probably 2 more episodes. But we'll let you know after our little break for my vacay. So
we're going to miss her. She's got to come back safe, guys.
Yes.
She does all the editing.
I'll be like Ahoy captain. I don't know. I feel like I need to like make like some Scoops Ahoy references since I'm going on a cruise.
Don't watch Poop Cruise on
No,
Netflix.
I'm not going to watch that. Maybe I'll watch it when I come back because I love those stupid Netflix documentaries.
Yeah. Wait until after you come back.
Yeah. There's another one like about American Apparel I just saw come up today.
Really?
Like another
Ooh.
like train wreck documentary thing. So looks fun. Anyway, I think we're done. Over and out.
Yep. Over and out.
Eddie, I'm not sure I love the idea of you driving.
Oh, I'm starting to suffer. Harrington's got her. Don't you, big boy?
And we are back, and this is our Secret Study segment. If you have never listened before and it's just, Battle of Starcourt Day and you tuned in for the vibes, this is where we talk about fan fiction. We keep it separate from the rest of the episode because we know that fan fiction is not for everyone, but we do enjoy it. And we like chatting about what we've been reading and all the different ways and universes in which Steve Harrington and Eddie Munson are boyfriends. And yeah, so what you been reading? What do you got to talk about, Stacey?
So I've been reading Scorville Skies, and I know Prism just updated again. Girl, you've got some catching up to do. But I've been reading that, and obviously I've been reading a lot of one-shots, but I want to do a shout-out to our friend Tell Me a Story 86. They just finished, I believe, their long-going story Made of Stardust, which I know the lovely Leviathan has provided some really gorgeous artwork for. So congratulations to them. So that's kind of what's been going on with me.
Definitely need to check that story out. It looks beautiful. Speaking of, I wasn't going to bring this up, but you brought up Prism updating. I noticed that Is Your Light On updated this week too, which
really
I started,
that's
but
OG.
I didn't get very far into it. I do want to read it. That's Adur, who is one of my faves. So that one's been going on for a while, and I just noticed that a new chapter dropped this week because I got a subscription email. But
they're really good.
Yeah, so that's something to check out. But did I say that I finally finished Steve and Eddie's Tryst Through Time? I think I said that last
I know you
week.
were nearing towards the end. You're finished now, though,
Yeah,
right?
I finished that.
Was
it good? It was fantastic. I decided for my birthday weekend. So it was really funny because Cleo is like a really great fandom artist, and they have a lot of like beautiful artwork for Stranger Things, but also like other fandoms and stuff. And I noticed that they were having like a sale, which I didn't buy anything. I'm going to buy some stuff probably eventually because I love their art. Actually, I do have one of their art pieces that's like my absolute favorite that I have like a huge print of, and I've just never hung it up, but I'm going to eventually. It's the one with like Steve and Eddie in the back of a truck, like a back of the van with like the lights and stuff.
Beautiful.
So good. But with like the green and the moon and everything. But anyway, they did the art for a bunch of stories that were written by Ace. So it's like Ace and Cleo are like the duo that kind of like write these stories together. And Ace does the writing, Ayes, and Cleo does the art. And one of their stories, which I've read, Flight Risk. You've read Flight Risk, right?
Yes, so
that's,
good.
That's them.
My God.
They have a bunch of other ones, though, that I have not read. And I decided to read, it's called Genius Loci or Genius Loci.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite stories I've ever read.
Now give me a quick summary. What's it about?
So they defeat Vecna. Everything that happens in canon happens, but Eddie lives. Steve gets trapped in the Upside Down.
Oh,
They
no.
think he's dead, and they leave him there. And Elle closes the gate. But very quickly, he does end up coming back.
Mhm.
And he gets back in a very unique way, but he kind of like takes up residence at Hopper's cabin with Eddie
Okay.
as he's recovering.
Okay.
And that's one timeline, but it alternates point of views. So that timeline is Steve's point of view, but then you've
Mhm.
got like a 4 or 5 years in the future, and it's Eddie coming back to the cabin
Oh, wow.
where Steve still lives.
Oh,
And
cool.
so
Okay.
you kind of get like what happened then and what's happening now in the future. And like,
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
it's kind of told and like pieces come together of like what happened between them and like
Mhm.
what's happening now when Eddie finally comes back. But Steve also has powers. So
Ooh, I like
when
that.
he went to the Upside Down, he ended up with powers similar to Elle. So it's like kind of practical magic, I think, is like some of the vibes they were going for.
I love that. Okay. Yeah.
And very like cottage core because he like turns a Hopper's cabin into like such a
It's
cozy,
fantastic. Cozy
like,
cabin.
yes.
Yep. Only Steve Harrington could pull that off. Yep.
Yeah, and like kind of just lives off the land and everything, and it's just like such a gorgeous story. It's very like summer coded because
Mhm.
like it's summer in both timelines of like when they're like telling the story or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's very angsty because there's like
Ooh.
leaving and coming back. And anyway, I'm rambling about this story, but it was just I just felt like so immersed, and there's gorgeous artwork for every chapter that it's like based on tarot cards, which I like love. So I want to get like some of the prints of like the tarot cards, probably like at least 3, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
pick like 3 of my favorite and like get them and frame them and put them on my wall.
Yeah.
Like
That would look great.
yeah.
I think maybe I'll start that one next because I know you sent me the link for it,
Oh
and
my
I'm like,
gosh.
ooh.
So good. And then after that, I read a shorter one that I had been like following. I knew it was coming out, but like it was 3 chapters. It's pretty short. But I was waiting until it was finished, and it's super cute modern AU. And I think it's called Some Assembly Required by maybe Monkey Slut.
That sounds familiar.
And it's fake dating. So like Steve asks Eddie to be his fake boyfriend so that he can go on vacation with him to Croatia for his cousin's wedding
Cool.
because he
Okay.
doesn't want his mom to like make him like marry like some like Italian lawyer's daughter or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Sounds good.
yeah, it's really cute because it's like a modern AU, and sometimes they're like texting each other, and like just
Oh.
the whole party is involved, and like it's just adorable.
That sounds really good.
And it was again like very summery vibes because it's like vacation to Croatia in the 3rd chapter.
love that.
So
Yeah.
that was very fun, and now I need to figure out what I'm going to read next, but I'm pretty excited. I may end up reading more of A's and Cleo's stuff because I liked Flight Risk, but like for some reason I didn't get like super into it until like the end. But oh my gosh, this Steve and Eddie in this one that I read by them, like
Yeah.
maybe top 3. If
Wow.
not, like,
Okay.
I mean, it's competing with The Man That I Could Be, which is like my first and forever favorite, but like it's right up there with it. So
Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm intrigued. Okay.
so anyway, I'll let you know what I end up reading next, and
Can't wait.
we will, I guess, catch you on the flip side.
Happy Battlestar Court Day, guys.
Peace.